Grand and glorious, royal, rich, divine rising. This is the anointed, reborn again dynasty. How is everyone feeling? I hope everyone is well. Today I'm just going to dive right in. I want to talk about something personal. But I know it affects many of us. Some directly, some indirectly, but it's something that affects the nation as a whole. Okay. We're going to talk about having family members with certain disabilities and disorders, and how when you really are trying to get them the help that they deserve, how daunting it is, how trying it is, how confusing it is, and how the system is really set up. I'm just going to go ahead and call it ass backwards. I understand about the rights of a patient, but I'm just going to go ahead and just be frank. The biggest one is from the moment that you have a loved one that is deemed to be disabled, and is going to have some sort of challenges in their life in which they're going to need assistance. Okay. Unless the parental figure has had some sort of troubled background and they're just not allowed to even apply for guardianship, it should be an automatic thing that the parent or the loved one in which they reside with have automatic guardianship. And then if they so choose and are able to go in to a judge, apply for the paperwork to say, hey, I'm independent, I can make my decisions on my own. Unless they're able to do that or willing to do that, then that should be the caveat. The problem that we run into is that when they're children, we have to make all the decisions, right? But when they become adults and they're unable to make the sound decisions, then who's to make it for them? Who's making the doctor's appointments? Who's seeing to it that they're getting their prescriptions? Who's seeing to it that they are eating well, bathing well, getting certain checkups? They make it extremely hard for you to care for your loved ones if they do not remember, or to allow staff know, physicians to know that you have the right, the ability to speak upon their behalf or to make decisions for them. They don't tell you that in order for these things to continue to happen, even though they still live with you when they're grown, that if you don't have power of attorney, medical of attorney, or guardianship, then they have to express consent. You can lose a loved one to the system or out on the street, which means that's in everyone's problem at this point. And you was never trying to have that occur. But with all of these certain rules for human rights, it's blocking certain access It's blocking certain liberties that you want to be able to give your loved one. Now, there's so many different degrees. And I've heard this new term, it's called high functioning individuals who have disabilities and or disorders. Now, I'm not sure who's making these decisions, because I can bet you that a lot of these individuals that are in these fields do not have children or loved ones in this field, because this rule should have already been adjusted. And who is making these rules about the severity of the disorder in order to justify means and services, where some of them will definitely qualify, possibly for 6 months out of a time versus a lifetime. The thing is to prevent or to keep on track. And if there is a crisis going on, and you can clearly see that they are unable to think for themselves, make proper decisions. Oh, but if they considered a level 1, then, oh, it's out of my hands. It's quite unfortunate, because there's some sort of level of care. It's as if you have to keep on having these infractions, or you have to keep on all of this extra documentations. It's as if you can make the account for a lot of things, but they make it extremely hard. They don't tell you that you should apply for benefits early on, because if you wait years later, because you are able to, you're managing, you're trying to do everything, but as they get older, the disorder worsens, or the disability worsens. Okay? And then when you apply, then it's as if you're just saying it just occurred. No. I had the time, I had the patience. It wasn't as severe, but now it's clear that if a person was able to do 40 hours, and now they're down to 20, to now to 8, to where now they can't even get up, they don't even feel like doing much for themselves. Yes, they qualify. Yes, this is this is no scam. They make you feel like you're trying to get over, or you're asking more than what you deserve. My son has a disorder. And what I've seen, it's quite maddening. My son was visiting his father, and he had an onset. And because his father didn't know what was going on and whatnot, they took his rights away. And they were getting ready to place him into a place, not knowing he lives with me. So I called up there to the hospital. And in order for him to get my son to me, a sheriff was going to have to drive him down. So that was his first time in the sheriff car, handcuffed no least, and brought to Austin State Hospital. Now, let me tell you about this hospital. In a short period of time, I saw the ugly in the system. See, he got there. They only let you see them at a limited time, only a few days out of the week, and that's understood. But because it's so, it's a state hospital, right? So it's going to be a little bit more buttoned up and a lot more private. But as my son was coming to, there was a cellmate in there telling him, be careful what you say. They play tricks with you. You know? So for a good minute, for about a few days, my son was quite confused. He was like, Mama, can you hear my thoughts? He was asking his dad the same thing, like, can you hear what I'm saying? And I'm like, no, baby, I hear what you're saying. They were listening on the phone call, and they were playing back everything that he was saying and making him feel like there were additional thoughts in his head. It was accidentally placed on the wrong, like he either walked into the wrong wing, somehow he got somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. And he said he really saw. It was quite frightening. And so there was like a mandatory hold, like 7 to 9 days. And then after that, you got to go before a judge. And they're telling me that he has to stay for another 45 days. And it's going to be up to a judge. So I'm like, okay, I'm coming up there because I'm need to speak with the judge just so I can find out, right? Now, I let them know about what games that they were playing, and they removed my son from that wing because he knew what he was talking about. When we get there on the day for the hearing, the lawyer is kind of confused. She can tell I'm educated. She can tell, my son is not as severe. They're kind of confused. They're trying to figure out, how did he even get here? What they failed to tell me is that any time that you were brought into the state hospital, you're on a mandatory 7-day hold. And then after that, the reason that they have to apply for a 45-day, and then it goes to 60, then it goes to 120 days. And if you don't show up to these hearings, you can lose your loved one. Now, that might be what some people want. But what she saw was that I was going to get my son the proper care. And that all they wanted was some observation days for the medication that they had prescribed to them. And then at that time, it was still voluntary. And that if he didn't want to wait the additional 7 days, he can check out at any time after that. But they were trying to keep him for 45 days. She told them, I will not be taking this family in front of the judge. So it's probably a cash cow thing for the state or whatnot. But those staff members that they have there, they need to be evaluated. Possibly every 60 to 90 days. If they're doing those type of mental games with a person that's just had a break, can you imagine what they're doing with others who can't tell the difference? That doesn't have a parent like me. It's quite sad. Moving right along, we get referred to a place called Integral Care. Oh, So the psychiatrist that we had, Dr. Gary Potty, I loved his style, but he got another offer and he moved on. Oh, and you can tell the difference in the staff. And what I realized there is that depending on what grading system that is in this, that's coded next to you, is based off the services that you are going to receive. And you just have to keep on and keep on and keep on letting them know that, hey, I deserve more. So for a high functioning individual like I have, he looks just like you and I. However, there are times that when he has a flare-up, his life can be quite chaotic. It can last from 2 months, 2 weeks to 2 months. And if there was something that triggered, like a loss of a parent or a girlfriend or something, he can psychomanic. And that means 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 1 week on, 1 week off, and that can last to 6 months. Oh, but he's still considered a level 1. And so I can just imagine what you parents are going through when they act as if you have all of this help, you have all of these services, but what they don't tell you is that if they deem their severity isn't as disruptive as you claim it to be, well, you're on your own. You either have to have that insurance or you have to look elsewhere. Now you're trying to work. You're trying to manage this new onset, and what they don't tell you is there's degrees. Okay? There are degrees in this. For the first, I would say 3 years, it was very smooth. It was to be what it was expected, and then all of a sudden, I saw different behaviors that we had never even spoke about or talked about, right? And so I realized in the research that I had to go deeper. I had to do my own research to understand, see if there were holistic things that I could do, because there are certain holistics, vitamins and stuff that you can't just give to everyone with different disabilities or disorders. My son is doing way better now. But he had to have something greater happen to him in order to get the services that he deserved. And even with that, that was an additional year or two when I had already did the research and had told them, based off of his condition and what he has going on with him, he's going to need a minimum of 6 months. But it's as if the incidents have to keep on counting up before there's additional resources. It's as if there's a lot of band-aids going on. There's no real solutions. It's just a lot of band-aids. Just here you go. Here's some gauze. Here's a little. Here you go. Cover this boo-boo up. Let's see how long this lasts you. And then we'll give you a little bit more again. This is what I'm saying. Don't wait. I know that there are some of us that we say we got it, we got it. Especially in our communities, we love to keep certain things to ourselves and private because it is. It's sensitive. However, it will get greater later. And you want to be able to have your resources lined up. You want to be able to have applied for disability for them and go through the rigmarole. Because if you're anything like me and you've waited and now you have gone through it a couple of times and then gotten denied, and then life happens and they're sick again, and you have 2 to 3 jobs, and a whole 6 months has gone by, you don't have the energy anymore to continue to be saying, hey, we need some help here, right? Give yourself, go ahead and do the research, find out where your true circle of care is at. Don't lose yourself in it neither. Okay. Some of us can withstand a lot more than others can. However, even the strongest individual, you will find yourself the simplest of things you just can't even muster to do. You're just done with it. And I'm going to need some time to myself, and I can just hope you can hold on. Because I gave and gave and gave and saw it through and didn't realize I wasn't pouring back into myself like I should have. And so now, making the doctor's appointments, filling out this and that, and making sure the prescriptions and all that, all of a sudden, it seems like a daunting long list, because you finally are at your peak. And what happens is from that point, is that what happens at that point is that if you're not careful, you and your child could end up in a hospital. Something that you never, like, okay, now who's going to take care of you? Who's going to take care of them? Who's going to, so that's really what I came here for, is to say that I understand the frustration. It's there's no phone calls, there's no emails, there's no reminders. I remember when I was younger, people was always showing up at the house. The kids was just on Ritalin, and they was getting house calls. Now, what type of severity do they need to have in order to get house calls now? Can you imagine? So I found out the state doesn't run the program anymore, so they've elicited some other, and everyone talks about how trash it is. I definitely have to, yeah, this will probably be a part 2 or something, because my mind is still rolling about it's certain things that you can see that is obvious that they just, I don't know, they're just going by protocol or so. For instance, my son goes to this program. I'm thinking they have done the research. I'm helping him to state this is exactly what he needs. He needs a dual diagnostic place. Oh no. See, as long as it checked a certain boxes for the state, then they can get state funding and you'll be able to go there. But the only thing that made it dual was the fact that they can hand out prescriptions, but it was voluntary. So he was basically like a holding facility for 45 days. He was really baked. He was out in the sun way longer than he should have. He didn't look well. And he wasn't. They kept coming up to my job, knowing that he wasn't well. His previous case manager knew that if he wasn't well or not talking correctly, he automatically set up a place. So you here at my job 2-3 days in a row, knowing he's not well, saying that he has to do something in order for you to intervene when you know he wasn't well, and then he does. Oh, but that becomes a domino effect, because now we must move. And because I'm assistant property manager, how does that look? So now I lose my job. All because they wouldn't exercise the knowingness, but still was trying to say that he needed to voluntarily. He's been missing now for 2 days. So when he shows back up, then all could have been prevented. My son calls. He says, I'm ready to go back. Oh, but they want him to call and set up this stuff for himself. This is the reason why he's calling you. It takes a lot for a person to want to commit themselves. So you're just going to give them more time for something else to come and pop up in their mind, and then they're on to something else? Oh, it wasn't much longer after that another infraction had occurred. Oh, and now we see that we got to do something, we got to intervene. So we're going to agree with your 6-month assessment. We'll keep them in holding for detox. And then we've set up a therapeutic diversion program where there'll be doctors and peer support specialists and psychiatrists and ways to integrate out in the world and additional services and stability, housing. You don't say. Things that he have already had qualified for years ago. I'm grateful that it has finally come to this. But it was going to. I was already setting things in motion. I was already prepared. I had already said that I was not going to be turning a blind eye to certain things. Oh, yeah. As soon as they are off the hook, have, what is it called? Complete the program, hadn't done anything in 30 and 90 days. Now, the services are supposed to stay around for 6 months, but no one calls. No one shows up. It's just another completed case off the roster. See, this time they said he needed to be the one to do the calling. So, anytime he was concerned about something, I said, did you call him? Because they said, I can't be the one making the phone call, so you call him. And he would. And he would leave his messages. He got to the point, he's like, Mama, they're not answering me back. They're not calling me back. They, he felt it. So I said, okay. And I made sure when I sent these emails this last time, I was like, oh, okay. See, they have a business just like everyone else. And you need to have a good successful rate as well. A lot of us are paying into things, putting our money into places for the tax dollars. And I was calling his lawyer to tell her that I am at my wit's end, and I'm working at a place and I'm seeing all of these services that my son deserves, but he can't seem to get them. Before I tell her what I'm about to do, she goes ahead and proves me correct. And she says, I know it, but they are giving all the services to the homeless people. And I said, yes, I noticed. And you have 2 weeks or he's going to be homeless. Now, I love my son, but I be damned that I know he qualifies for services. And you mean to tell me that the only way he can get him is if I put him out? She said, give me 2 weeks and we're going to fix this. Well, I didn't have to, but oh, I was prepared to. A mother will do what she has to do. My son graduated from Brewery High School. In this area, the school is top 3. And so a lot of his friends they're gone. A lot of them don't even live in the city anymore. And the ones that do, his life is so different now that he barely sees the 2 that always were here. And that's to be expected, I'm sure there'll still be bros, when his life is all said and done. They still around, peek here and out from time to time. But, yeah. I'm just at a place where I finally had said, I'm tired. I can't fill out another application, son. You're going to have to make these people do what they need to do for you, or this is going to be your alternative, because this is the only way that I can see that you can get the things that you deserve. Now, I'm glad that I did not have to do so, but I know that there are many of you who are at that end, who didn't want to have to put your children in an all-men's home or nursing home or leave them at the state, because the local services kept making things so hard for you that you're like, I have no choice. I pray that you have a beautiful support system, that you're able to navigate through the resources that are available. May you be able to have the willpower, the love, to pour into yourself and to balance your situation so that you can be strong for your child or for your loved one. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel like, and I realized, it took me 4 years to realize that my son was a bit different. His heart is still the same. He's still a joker and whatnot, but he's a little different now. And it took me 4 years before it really hit me, my baby. And knowing what I know about life, knowing what I know about life, there's just certain things you never want your child to experience. But it's not up to me. But what is, I will do my finest. And you will too. Make a decision early on. Do the research early on. Look at the trajectory of how things are going and make a solid plan ahead of time, so that you won't find yourself in a burnout and will be needing to take a respite. And if there's no one to assist your child or your loved one while you're taking a respite, it's going to be a little bit more you'll have to take care of when you recover. I know this is probably a little bit all over the place, but it would be so much easier if they were to automatically make a parent or responsible loved one to be their guardian, so that they won't get lost in the system or become homeless, because some of these individuals, once they're off their medication, they can have manic episodes, clinical depressed episodes, all kinds of things for 4 months to 8 months. By the time they've come through, they've lost everything. There's no one there to check on them. There's no one to to see it about them until when you have someone that is willing to do so, but they aren't able to give the permission, then what is the point? It's as if they want it this way. Just a thought. This is the Anointed Reborn Again Dynasty. Have a good night.